Tonight, city budget standoff intensifies. Will the mayor and city council get a deal before the holidays or risk an unprecedented Chicago shutdown? A top Trump administration official speaks out exclusively to the Chicago Report, why he says threats to withhold funding to the CTA are legal. Will the U.S. follow Australia's lead and ban social media use for kids under 16? The surprising answer from Illinois Senator Dick Durbin. And meet the first officially declared candidate for Chicago mayor, who he is and why he thinks he's the one that can win.
Welcome to the Chicago Report. I'm Paris Schutz. Another day closer to a potential city government shutdown, and the two sides have only grown farther apart on a budget agreement. Mayor Johnson revised his corporate head tax proposal. Now, this time it would only apply to businesses with more than 500 employees in Chicago. He says the anti-corporate head tax campaign is being driven by some of Chicago's wealthiest business interests who are, in his view, not on the side of Chicago's working class population.
I have moved multiple times to ensure that City Council knows that I'm committed to a real negotiation while at the same time holding to our values. Investing in community safety is my top priority. Ensuring that we are building safe and affordable communities, that's good for business. There's a reason why we have 6 cranes up and 18 that are committed. There's a reason why our airports are busier than they've ever been. Our downtown hotel occupancy, we have shattered records because our economy is shifting and growing as a result of the investments that we are making in community safety. That is good public policy. That is good for business. Now, of course, there's work to be done, but also when we look at this corporate challenge, 74%, the vast majority of the people of Chicago want us to challenge corporations to put more skin in the game. My question is this: why would we not do something that the people of Chicago want us to do that we actually can do?
But 27 city council members are not buying what the mayor is selling. They signed on to an alternative proposal, meaning it's a majority, but not a veto-proof majority. They would need 34 alders to sign on to have that. So they all had a pre-scheduled city council meeting today where they didn't vote on a budget, but they did vote to have more meetings, to someday consider voting on the budget. AKA, they've agreed to meet next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on and on and on, more days before Christmas if they can't get this done. Now, alders have also moved the needle a bit on their alternative proposal, like raising the garbage collection fee to $15 instead of $19. It's currently around $9. So to sum up, a $16.7 billion budget that has to close a $1.15 billion gap must be agreed to before the end of the year, or else city government shuts down. And what does that look like? Well, nobody knows. The mayor's office says they're consulting with the law department right now to determine who gets paid and who doesn't, what city services keep going and what don't. In the case of a municipal shutdown, about the only thing we do know is that Chicago's elected officials are going to have lots of lumps of coal in their stockings if they can't agree on something before the holidays. The federal government is demanding an enhanced safety plan from the CTA, or else it will risk losing tens of millions in federal funding. The administrator of the Federal Transit Administration penned a letter to Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson citing the burning of 26-year-old Bethany McGee at a Loop Blue Line station. The threats were met with mixed local reaction.
This is the federal government threatening state and local government with taking away federal funds for a purpose that they're not allowed to.
I think the CTA should consider jettisoning their security contract. They should be using CPD officers on an overtime program and have them actually deployed onto trains from time to time. If a would-be criminal thinks there's a shot at running into a uniformed police officer on a train, they're going to think twice about committing that crime.
And joining us now is FTA Administrator Mark Molinaro, who wrote that letter to Mayor Johnson and Governor Pritzker. Administrator Molinaro, thanks for speaking with us. First off, specifically, how much money would the federal government withhold, and would this be for capital projects like the Red Line extension?
So this is their formula dollars. It is tens of millions, up to tens of millions of dollars, and really is dependent on whether or not the state, the city, and the Transit Administration itself, the Transit Authority itself, develops a safety plan that confronts what are just horrific conditions. I mean, 50% of Chicago riders feel unsafe. 2/3 of Chicago transit riders believe there needs to be more law enforcement. At the same time, assaults on the system are 5 times the national average, while assaults against bus drivers in particular, 9 times the national average, 150% increase in assaults these last 5 years. There needs to be immediate action. Secretary Duffy, President Trump, and I are calling on the state, the city, and the agency itself to develop a safety enhancement plan that adequately protects the public and transit workers.
And you've given the mayor and local officials until next week to send you that enhanced safety plan. Specifically, what would you like to see in there?
Well, I think it's about what riders and the operators themselves deserve. Again, 5 times the national average as it relates to rider assaults, 9 times the national average as it relates to operator assaults. There needs to be a surge of law enforcement. There needs to be an investment in both rider and operator protection. And it really is up to the state and the city to develop that plan and implement it. We're giving them 5 days to develop a surge plan. We're giving them 5 days thereafter to implement that plan, so that the public's safe and that operators' lives aren't at risk. And we don't see more of these crimes like the barbaric attack against Bethany McGee, which was preventable. This just cannot be the norm on transit systems anywhere, and it's no longer going to be acceptable to us, certainly in Chicago.
And with that Bethany McGee attack, there are a lot of points of debate on that issue, given the fact that the alleged suspect had been arrested 71 times previous, so a lot of debate locally on that. But I want to get you to respond to what we heard earlier, first from the governor, basically saying if this is money already allocated, federal money already allocated to the CTA, even if it's for an issue like safety, it can't be withheld legally. So what kind of legal standing does the FTA have to actually not send the CTA this money if it's already been allocated?
First, the governor is just wrong. We, in fact, the FTA with the state of Illinois through their DOT certify that the state itself, Governor Pritzker himself, and the state DOT is responsible for safety oversight in the Chicago transit system. That is an agreement that is reached between the FTA and the state, certified by the state. And ultimately, if in fact the agencies themselves are not providing for the safety of operators and by extension riders, we have the authority to withhold formula dollars. These are dollars that flow to the system for operations. Again, we're not speaking about specific capital projects. This is the formula aid that comes to Chicago. We have the right to withhold it. We don't want to withhold it. What we want is for the state of Illinois, the city of Chicago, and the system itself to surge law enforcement, provide for public safety, and to confront what are horrific incidents of assault being perpetrated against operators. That's what we want. It's what 50% of the riders want. It's what 2/3 of the riders want when asked if they need or want more law enforcement in the system. And I'd suggest the governor and the mayor respond to the public and ultimately provide for public safety on the system.
And then I want to get you to respond to what we heard Alderman Brendan Riley say right after the governor, basically saying that the CTA should surge sworn CPD officers on there instead of private security. Is that something that might satisfy some of the requests that you're making?
Well, certainly surge in law enforcement would be a component of an improved safety plan. But we want the system and the state and the city to provide us what they think is necessary to confront these horrific incidents. And a surge of law enforcement is certainly part of that. Let me offer you, I served in state and local government, managed the transit system, responsible for public safety. There are multiple steps that can be taken: prevention, intervention, diversion, and enforcement. We want the city, we want the system, and we want the state to take seriously this problem, develop an all of the above approach to drive down incidents of assault and provide for operator and rider safety. That's what we're seeking. We have every right to ask it. President Trump and Secretary Duffy have made very clear that rider and operator safety is our priority. And for us at the FTA, that is not going to be questioned. We're not going to get jerked around by anybody anywhere. We want systems to be safe for the riding public and the people who operate those systems.
And recently, the Illinois General Assembly passed a $1.5 billion transit overhaul bill. The governor is set to sign it. And a big component of this is enhanced safety on CTA, basically saying that this extra state money is not going to flow unless the safety plan's enhanced. Is that enough? Are the proponents in this bill enough to satisfy some of what you're asking?
I'm sure that there's some components of what the state legislature has adopted that would help. And I'm all for responsible stewardship, not only of tax dollars, but making sure those dollars are spent responsibly in the system. We want an all of the above approach. We are looking for a comprehensive safety plan, a surge in enforcement, and a commitment to public and operator safety. And we want that plan to be implemented within the next 10 days. And we want to be able to ensure that there's success, that people are protected and operators are provided the safety and security they deserve as well.
All right. Mark Molinaro, Administrator of the Federal Transit Administration under the Federal Department of Transportation. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you. Be well.
You as well. And today, the mayor's office said they would respond to the letter, but they're looking at their legal options. Separately, the CTA did announce more steps to solve homelessness and mental health challenges on the system, including piloting safe ride specialists who will focus on reaching out to those passengers to get them help. And when we come back, could the U.S. follow Australia's lead in banning social media for kids under 16? Stay tuned.